Picture this. You're standing at a luxury resort front desk, suitcase in hand, excited for a family vacation. The clerk frowns at the computer screen and says those words that make your stomach drop. "I'm sorry, there's no reservation under your name." You turn to your mom and sister, expecting confusion, maybe an apology. Instead, they look away like you're a stranger causing a scene. Then your sister laughs loud enough for the entire lobby to hear and delivers a line that cuts deeper than any knife. "We only reserved rooms for real family. You make good money. You can figure it out, right?" That's exactly what happened to Olivia Parker, a 32-year-old senior product marketing manager living in Seattle. She could have begged, could have pulled out her credit card and swallowed the humiliation like she'd done 100 times before. Instead, she grabbed her suitcase, walked straight out of that resort, and triggered a chain of events that would financially destroy the people who excluded her. By the time her rideshare hit the freeway, her phone was exploding with missed calls. 20, 30, 56 desperate attempts to pull her back. Because what her family didn't know was that one person had just found out what they did, and he had the power to cut off their entire lifestyle with a single phone call. If you want the full truth about what happened next, hit like so this story reaches more people who have ever felt invisible in their own family. Olivia's story didn't start at that resort front desk. It started decades earlier in a family where money talked, and one daughter always listened better than the other. Her grandfather, Edward Collins, built his fortune through commercial real estate and retired to Scottsdale with enough wealth to support multiple generations. But Grandpa Ed wasn't the type to hand out blank checks. He believed in one thing above everything else: never let anyone hold money over your head. When Olivia was just 12 years old, he sat her down at his kitchen table, showed her a stock statement, and helped her open a custodial account. "You don't ever want to need a check from someone who doesn't respect you," he told her. At the time, she didn't realize he was talking about her own parents. Olivia's mother Carol and father Tom lived just outside Austin, presenting themselves as comfortable retirees with an HOA neighborhood, cruise photos on Facebook, and matching polos on the golf course. What they don't post about is the Collins Family Support Trust that quietly covers their HOA dues, a significant chunk of their insurance, and even portions of those picture-perfect cruises. Then there's Olivia's older sister, Maddie Parker Gray, who took a very different path. While Olivia ground through college on scholarships and late-night retail shifts, Maddie was busy reinventing herself as a lifestyle influencer around Austin. Aesthetic coffee photos, day-in-the-life vlogs, endless unboxings, all designed to project the image of the perfect young family with the perfect home, perfect SUV, and perfect private school for her daughter Lily. The problem was simple. Maddie's follower count looked impressive, but her bank account told a completely different story. Behind the perfectly filtered Instagram posts, Grandpa's trust was picking up everything that didn't fit on a credit card: private school tuition, car lease top-ups, and a surprising amount of mortgage assistance. Olivia's parents justified it with the same line every single time: "She has a family. She needs the help more than you do." The favoritism showed up early and often. Maddie got a brand new car at 16, while Olivia took the bus. Maddie's cheer camp and college housing were quietly handled behind the scenes, while Olivia spent nights swiping her meal card and stocking shelves to keep her scholarship. Whenever Olivia brought it up, her parents would toss out some version of "You're the independent one, you're strong, you don't need us." It sounded like a compliment wrapped in a bow, but it always came with an unspoken second half: "Because we'd rather spend our money on your sister." Comment excluded if you've ever been called too independent when your family just didn't want to help you. Every year, Grandpa Ed took the whole family on a trip somewhere nice as a way to keep everyone together. One year a cabin in Colorado, another year a Caribbean cruise. He always booked and paid for everything so money could never be used as an excuse to leave anyone out. But this last time, for a trip to San Diego, Olivia's parents insisted they would handle it themselves. Her mom sent a group text that read, "Dad's been so generous, but it's time we give him a break. We'll take care of this year's trip. It'll be simple, just family time." They chose Sapphire Bay Resort, which was about as far from simple as you could get. Oceanfront rooms, pool cabanas, a spa that Maddie wouldn't stop posting about in the family chat. When Olivia asked if Grandpa was still coming, her mom replied, He's sitting this one out, but he's thrilled we're doing something on our own. Looking back, the red flags were everywhere, waving in her face like warning signs she chose to ignore. Her mom never sent a confirmation number when Olivia asked for it, just kept saying, "It's all under one booking, don't worry about it." Maddie kept making jokes in the chat. "Olivia's the rich tech girl, she should be in the presidential suite," followed by laughing emojis. Her dad chimed in with, "You make more than all of us, you'll survive a few resort prices." Olivia brushed it off as the same old teasing, the same dynamic that had existed for 32 years. She thought worst case, if something got mixed up, they'd just add her room at check-in and she'd pay for it herself. What she didn't think, what she couldn't have imagined, was that they would sit there and watch the front desk tell her there was no reservation, then let her sister announce to an entire lobby that she wasn't real family. But that's exactly what they did. And while Olivia was walking out of that lobby with her suitcase and whatever dignity she had left, her mother was already texting Grandpa at a carefully watered-down version of events, trying to control the narrative before the truth came out. She just didn't realize the man she was texting had built his entire career on reading people, on spotting lies in contracts and hearing what wasn't being said. The minute he heard the phrase, "no reservation for Olivia," he was going to start digging for receipts, and he was very, very good at finding them. Olivia's flight into San Diego landed just before noon. By the time she grabbed her carry-on and made it through the chaos of rental car shuttles, she was already picturing the weekend the way her mom had described it. Simple, just family, no drama. The driver pulled up to Sapphire Bay Resort, all glass and white stone and palm trees, the kind of place designed for Instagram moments. She wheeled her suitcase across the polished lobby floor, spotted her parents sitting at the bar with drinks in hand, and smiled, lifting her hand to wave. For one split second before they looked up, she felt normal, like any other adult arriving late to a family vacation. But when her mom finally saw her, the expression that flickered across her face wasn't surprise or excitement. It was guilt. At the front desk, the clerk typed, looked at the screen, frowned, typed again. That long pause did something to Olivia's stomach she couldn't explain. "I'm sorry," he said finally, looking uncomfortable. "I don't have a reservation under Olivia Parker." He suggested trying different last names. Maybe the booking was under her parents. He clicked around, then delivered the words that would change everything. "I do see 2 rooms under Thomas Parker. 1 king for Thomas and Carol, 1 double queen for Madison Gray and family. But there's nothing that indicates a separate room for you. Type yes if you've ever been the one left out, while everyone else acts like nothing's wrong." The volume in the lobby suddenly felt deafening. Every suitcase wheel, every ice cube clink, every whispered conversation seemed amplified. Olivia turned around expecting her parents to rush over, expecting them to say it was a mistake, let's fix it. Instead, they both stayed seated at that bar, her mom taking a slow sip of her bright pink cocktail and pretending to be fascinated by the TV mounted above. That's when Maddie appeared like she'd been waiting for her cue, striding across the lobby in a flowy cover-up, oversized sunglasses, and a designer tote she'd definitely tagged a brand for. "Liv," she called out like they were best friends, then glanced at the computer screen with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, did Mom forget to book your room?" The clerk's face shifted from neutral to deeply uncomfortable. Olivia looked back at her mom and asked the question she already knew the answer to. "Did you put me in one of the rooms?" Her mother shifted on the bar stool, set down her drink, and said without meeting Olivia's eyes, "We assumed you'd get your own room, honey. You make more than enough. We already paid for the package for us and Maddie's family. It was just simpler this way." Her dad let out this weak, nervous chuckle like he wanted the whole thing to sound harmless. "You're our independent one, remember?" he added, and behind Olivia, someone in line muttered, "Wow," under their breath. Then Maddie delivered the line that would cost her everything. She laughed, sharp and delighted, and said loud enough for the entire lobby to hear, "We only reserved rooms for real family. Mom and Dad, me, Jason, and Lily. You're the big tech girl, you can figure something out, right? Real family." She said it with a little shrug like it was a harmless joke, but those words hung in the air like a slap across the face. The clerk cleared his throat and offered gently, "We can try to add a separate room. Rates are higher for walk-ins, but I can see what's available." Olivia's mom jumped in fast. She can handle it. She does very well for herself. Like she needed the entire lobby to know her daughter was rich enough that this public humiliation didn't count. For a moment, Olivia thought about all the times they'd assured Grandpa that everything was fine, that the girls were close, that they were all one unit. She could have pulled out her card, could have swallowed it and laughed and said, "No worries, put it on me." That's what they were counting on, that she'd fix their cruelty for them like she always did. Instead, something in her went completely still. She looked the clerk in the eye and said clearly, "No, thank you, I won't be staying." Then she turned to her parents and sister and delivered her own line. "If I'm not part of the real family, you don't need me here." Maddie's smile faltered. Her mom whispered, "Olivia, don't be dramatic," like she was the one causing a scene by refusing to accept being publicly excluded. Olivia didn't answer. She picked up her suitcase and walked across that lobby with every step echoing in her own head, pushed through the glass doors into the California heat, and slid into the backseat of her ride-share. By the time she told the driver to head for the airport, her phone was already buzzing with their names flashing on the screen. By the time the driver merged onto the freeway, Olivia's phone had started its complete meltdown. First a call from Mom, then Maddie, then Mom again. She watched their names flash and fade, one after another while the resort disappeared in the rearview mirror. She didn't pick up, told herself she'd deal with it when she got home, when she wasn't running on pure humiliation and adrenaline. 5 minutes later, the missed calls turned into a flood. 10, 16, 23, voicemails stacking up with little red dots multiplying next to their names. When it hit 30, even her driver glanced at the phone lighting up in the cup holder and asked, "Everything okay?" Olivia let out a short laugh that sounded nothing like her own voice. "My family just realized I meant it when I said I was leaving." She opened her messages to silence the notifications, and that was a huge mistake. A wall of texts hit her all at once. From Mom, "Olivia, come back to the hotel. We can talk this out." From Maddie, "Seriously, Liv, you stormed out over a room." From Mom again, "We can probably get you a cot or something in Lily's room. Don't ruin the trip over this." Then Maddie, "I told the front desk we might add another room and they said they'd try. Can you just come back and pay for it so we can relax, please?" There was a voice message from Mom, her tone sharp and breathless. "Olivia, this is ridiculous. You embarrassed us. You made a scene. You know we love you. You know we just assumed you'd handle your own room. You make more than all of us combined. Stop punishing us for trying to have a nice family vacation." 10 minutes later, the tone started shifting. The texts got shorter, more frantic. Maddie, "Grandpa is asking what happened. What did you tell him?" Mom, "Your grandfather is calling. I need to know exactly what you said. Do not twist this." Another voicemail popped up, this time from her dad, his voice tight and annoyed. "Olivia, call your mother back. This has gone far enough. We're just trying to have a nice time. You don't get to walk out and then run to your grandfather like a child. You are 32 years old. Handle this like an adult." She stared at the word adult and thought about how she'd just been treated like some uninvited guest at their party, how they'd excluded her, and then demanded she pay to fix it. Share this video so other people understand what was actually hiding behind that perfect family image. By the time they reached the airport drop-off lane, the number on her missed call counter had ticked up to 56. 56 desperate attempts to pull her back into the same pattern where she swallowed their behavior and paid the emotional bill for it. Olivia handed the driver a tip, grabbed her suitcase, and finally did what she probably should have done years ago. She scrolled past her parents' names, past Maddie and Jason, and tapped on Grandpa Ed. He picked up on the second ring. "Olivia," he said, and just the way he said her name made her throat tighten. "Are you home already?" "No," she said, stepping out of the flow of people near security. "I'm at the airport. I never checked in." There was a pause on the other end. "Why not?" Olivia took a breath and told him everything, not with the dramatics her mother would accuse her of, not with the spin Maddie would put on it, but exactly word for word what had happened. The front desk, no reservation, her parents sitting at the bar watching it unfold. The phrase real family dropping out of Maddie's mouth like it was nothing. The 56 missed calls that started the second they realized she'd actually left. Grandpa Ed didn't interrupt. She could hear him breathing on the other end, that slow, controlled kind of breathing he did when he was trying not to say something he'd regret. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. And your mother said she assumed you would pay for your own room, he asked finally, his voice dangerously calm. Those were her exact words, Olivia confirmed. He made a low sound, almost a laugh but without any humor in it. Simpler, he repeated slowly. Is that what she called taking my support and using it to exclude you? Olivia swallowed hard and said the thing she needed him to understand. I didn't call you to ask you to do anything. I just couldn't keep pretending this was normal. I left. That's all. Grandpa Ed's voice shifted into something she recognized from childhood, the tone he used when he was about to close a deal that the other side didn't see coming. You did exactly what you should have done. You removed yourself. You told the truth. The rest is my mess to clean up. Grandpa, I don't want to start a war, Olivia said quietly. He let out a breath that sounded like decades of frustration finally finding a target. Olivia, the war started a long time ago when your mother and father decided that one daughter would always be first and the other would always be fine. Today they just finally said it out loud in front of witnesses. His next words were measured and deliberate. Listen to me carefully. I'm going to call the hotel. I'm going to ask some questions. Then I'm going to have a little chat with the rest of our real family. You do not answer their calls. You go home, you rest, you go back to work. I will handle this. Olivia could picture him at his desk in Scottsdale, sitting in that old leather chair with the neat stack of trust documents he was always reviewing, the ones that outlined exactly who got what and under what conditions. If anyone knew how to pull receipts and make them hurt, it was Edward Collins. Are you sure? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Because they already think I ran to you. Good, he said flatly, and she could hear the hint of a smile in his voice. Let them. It will make it easier when they realize what their little stunt is about to cost them. After they hung up, Olivia turned her phone back over. More texts, more missed calls, one from her mom that read, Grandpa is being dramatic. Do not tell him some sob story. You know how he gets. She almost laughed right there in the TSA line. Her mother had no idea that the man she was calling dramatic had spent his entire career negotiating with people exactly like her, people who thought charm and excuses could replace accountability. As Olivia took off her shoes and slid her laptop into the bin, a new email notification appeared at the top of her screen. From Edward Collins. Subject: Emergency family meeting tonight. Required. She opened it just long enough to see the first line. We will be discussing the future of the Collins Family Support Trust and the definition of real family. Then she closed her laptop, stepped through the metal detector, and for the first time in a long time felt like she wasn't the one who was about to be judged. If this shocked you already, comment justice below and stay until the end because what happens next is brutal. That night, after Olivia's flight landed back in Seattle and she dragged her suitcase into her condo, the sky outside her windows was already dark. The city was its usual blur of lights and drizzle, that Pacific Northwest mood, but her head was still stuck in that blinding California lobby. She showered, put on sweatpants, made herself something to eat, and tried not to watch the clock tick closer to 8. At exactly 8 p.m. sharp, her laptop chimed with the familiar sound of a Zoom meeting starting. She took a breath, opened it, and clicked join. Grandpa Ed's face popped up first, framed by the warm light of his home office in Scottsdale, sitting straight in his leather chair with white hair combed back and glasses low on his nose, wearing the same no-nonsense expression she'd seen in old photos from his real estate days. A second later, her parents' tile appeared. Her mom's eyes were red like she'd been crying, mascara smudged at the corners. Her dad's jaw was set so tight it looked painful, like he was grinding his teeth to keep from speaking first. Maddie and Jason joined from their hotel room, still at the resort, sitting on the edge of the bed in matching robes that would have been comical if the tension wasn't so thick. Finally, Olivia's own little square showed her tired face in the corner, no makeup, hair still damp from the shower, looking like exactly what she was. Someone who'd been publicly humiliated and was waiting to see if anyone actually cared. YouTube +3. Thank you all for joining, Grandpa said, his voice calm but carrying a weight that made everyone else go silent. We won't be here long, but we will be honest. That is non-negotiable. Olivia's mom jumped in immediately, her voice high and defensive. Dad, this is being blown completely out of proportion. It was a simple mix-up with the reservation. Olivia overreacted and stormed out before we could fix it. Grandpa Ed held up one hand, and somehow that single gesture shut her down mid-sentence. Carol, I called the resort. I spoke to the front desk clerk who checked Olivia in, or tried to. I also spoke to his manager. They remember the incident very clearly because it's not every day someone publicly announces that a family member isn't real family. The silence that followed was deafening. Maddie's face went pale. Her mom opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Her dad looked down at his hands. According to the staff, Grandpa continued, his voice never rising but somehow getting sharper, there were 2 rooms booked under Thomas Parker. 1 king, 1 double queen. No third room was ever requested. No third room was ever discussed. And when Olivia asked if she was in one of those rooms, Carol, you told her, and I'm quoting the witness here, we assumed you'd get your own room. You make more than enough. He paused, let that sink in, then added, and Madison, you told your sister, again according to multiple witnesses, we only reserved rooms for real family. Would either of you like to correct the record? Nobody spoke. Olivia could see her sister's chest rising and falling quickly, could see her mom blinking back tears that weren't from sadness, but from being caught. I'll take that as a no, Grandpa said quietly. So let me make sure I understand. You took my invitation to do a family trip yourselves. You deliberately excluded Olivia from the booking, and when she discovered this in front of a lobby full of strangers, you blamed her for being dramatic and suggested she should pay for her own room to fix your cruelty. Do I have that right? Her dad finally tried. Ed, we just thought since she makes good money and we were already paying for Maddie's family that Olivia would understand. Understand what? Grandpa cut him off, and now there was real anger in his voice. That you used my money from the trust I created to keep this family together, to exclude one of my granddaughters. That you took my generosity and weaponized it. Grandpa Ed leaned forward, and Olivia watched him pull out a folder, the kind he used to bring to closing meetings back in his real estate days. Let's talk about numbers, he said, and the way he said it made Olivia's mom visibly flinch. Carol and Tom, in the last 3 years, the Collins Family Support Trust has distributed approximately $180,000 to cover your expenses. HOA dues, supplemental insurance, travel funds, the cruise you took last year, even the new roof you needed 18 months ago. He flipped a page. Madison, your distributions have been even more substantial. Private school tuition for Lily, $45,000 annually. Your car lease assistance, roughly $8,000 per year. Mortgage payment supplements when Jason's income fluctuates, another $30,000 over the past 2 years. All told, you've received just under $300,000 in trust support since Lily was born. The numbers hung in the air like accusations. Maddie's face had gone from pale to gray. Jason looked like he wanted to disappear into the hotel bedspread. Now let's talk about Olivia, Grandpa continued, and his voice softened just slightly. Olivia, who put herself through college on scholarships. Olivia, who never asked for a car or a down payment or help with student loans. Olivia, who the trust has distributed exactly $0 to because she never needed it and never asked for it. He looked directly at the camera, directly at Carol. And yet somehow, when it came time to book a family vacation, she was the one who didn't count as real family. Olivia's mom tried again, her voice breaking. Dad, we didn't mean it like that. We just thought... You thought you could treat her like she was less than because she didn't need your money, Grandpa said, and it wasn't a question. You thought you could humiliate her publicly and she would just take it because that's what she's always done. You thought wrong. He pulled out another document, this one with official-looking headers and signatures. Effective immediately, all discretionary distributions from the Collins Family Support Trust are suspended pending a full review of the trust structure and its beneficiaries. The panic on the screen was instant and visceral. Her mom gasped. Maddie actually stood up from the bed. Dad, you can't. I absolutely can, he cut her off. I am the trustee. I created this trust, I funded it, and the terms are very clear. Distributions are at my sole discretion and are intended to support family unity and mutual respect. What happened yesterday was the opposite of both. He wasn't done. Furthermore, I am restructuring the trust with my attorney starting tomorrow. The new terms will name Olivia as primary beneficiary with full distributions upon my passing. Carol, Tom, Madison, you will receive basic stipends only, and those are conditional on a public written apology to Olivia, delivered to every person who witnessed what happened at that resort, and a commitment to family therapy that you will attend and pay for yourselves. The Zoom tiles erupted in chaos. Her mom was crying openly now. Her dad was red-faced and sputtering. Maddie was shouting something about Lily's school tuition that was due next week. Jason looked like he'd just watched his entire lifestyle evaporate in real time, which honestly he had. Grandpa let them panic for exactly 10 seconds, then spoke again, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. Actions have consequences. You made a choice at that resort. You chose cruelty. You chose exclusion. You chose to publicly humiliate someone I love because you thought your comfort was more important than her dignity. Now you get to live with what that choice costs. 3-part call to action. Hit like if you believe they got exactly what they deserved. Comment your honest reaction to what Grandpa Ed did. And subscribe because stories like this, where justice actually wins, don't come around often enough. The days after that Zoom meeting were chaos for everyone except Olivia. She went back to work, logged into her meetings, reviewed product launches, and lived her normal life while her phone continued to blow up with increasingly desperate messages. Her mom sent novels over text about how they didn't mean to hurt her, how the family was falling apart. How could she let Grandpa do this? Maddie's messages shifted from angry to panic to almost incoherent as she realized Lily's private school payment was due in 5 days, and the trust distribution that always covered it wasn't coming. Jason sent a message that just read, "We need to talk about this reasonably," like there was a negotiation to be had. Her dad tried the guilt angle. "Your mother is devastated. Is this really what you want? To destroy your own family over a hotel room?" Olivia didn't respond to any of them. She forwarded each message to Grandpa Ed, and he forwarded them to his attorney as evidence of continued manipulation and lack of genuine remorse. 2 weeks later, Maddie's Instagram stories started changing in ways her followers definitely noticed. The aesthetic coffee shots were still there, but the designer handbag unboxings stopped. The private school pickup content disappeared. One follower commented, "Haven't seen Lily at Montessori lately, everything okay?" And Maddie deleted the comment within minutes. Another asked about the car lease on her luxury SUV, and that comment vanished too. Within a month, rumors started circulating in her influencer circles. Brands stopped reaching out for partnerships. Sponsored content dried up. Because here's the thing about lifestyle influencers. The lifestyle has to actually exist, and when Grandpa's money stopped flowing, the carefully constructed image started crumbling fast. Olivia's parents had their own reckoning. The HOA dues they thought were automatically handled came with a late notice. Their supplemental insurance lapsed. The golf club membership they loved posting about suddenly became a luxury they couldn't justify. They tried to schedule a meeting with Grandpa to discuss this reasonably, but he replied with a single line. "My terms were clear. Written apology to all witnesses, family therapy on your dime, or the stipends disappear entirely." They haven't sent that apology yet, which means the stipends haven't started either. Meanwhile, Olivia received a different kind of email from Grandpa's attorney. An updated trust document, officially filed, showing her as the primary beneficiary with full control upon his passing and immediate access to certain educational and investment funds if she chose to use them. The document included a personal note from Grandpa Ed that made her cry for the first time since leaving that resort. "You were always the real family, Olivia. I'm sorry it took them being cruel for me to show you that in a way that mattered." She framed that note and put it on her desk in Seattle, right next to the stock statement he'd shown her when she was 12. 3 months later, Maddie finally sent a message that wasn't panicked or angry. It was short. "I'm sorry for what I said at the resort. I was wrong." Olivia read it, thought about it, and replied with equal brevity. "Send that apology to the front desk staff who witnessed it, to the guests who were in line behind me, and to Grandpa's attorney. Then maybe we can talk." Maddie never sent those apologies, which told Olivia everything she needed to know. Her sister wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry it had consequences. Her parents eventually started therapy, not because they wanted to heal, but because they wanted their stipends back. Grandpa's attorney confirmed they attended exactly 2 sessions, before claiming it was too expensive to continue, which was rich coming from people who'd spent 6 figures of someone else's money without a second thought. The last time Olivia spoke to any of them was on a family Zoom for Grandpa's birthday 6 months after the resort incident. They were all there, forced smiles and awkward small talk, pretending everything was fine while the elephant in the room crushed them all. When it was Olivia's turn to speak, she looked directly at the camera and said, "Grandpa, thank you for teaching me that family isn't about who shows up in photos. It's about who shows up when it counts." Her mom looked away. Maddie bit her lip. Her dad cleared his throat and changed the subject. And Olivia logged off that call knowing exactly what she'd known since the moment she walked out of that lobby. She didn't lose her family at Sapphire Bay Resort. She just finally stopped pretending she'd ever really had one. If they want her back in their lives, they know the price. Genuine accountability, real apology, actual change. Until then, Olivia's doing just fine on her own, the way she always has, except now she's got a trust fund, a grandfather who actually sees her, and a story about the time no reservation for you turned into the most expensive 2 words her family ever spoke. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do to people who hurt you. It's watching them realize too late that you were never the one who needed them. They needed you, and now they have to live with what it costs to figure that out the hard way.